Hey guys, Brad Pryor here with Great Brandon. Hanging out with Brock, my buddy from Oswood Stallion Farm. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
Good. So, how did you get into horse business?
Kind of a long story, but my father grew up with horses, and growing up we had horses. I started showing in the reining, kind of 12, 13 years old. Something I learned to like and enjoy and thought I was good at. So after that, I decided to go to college to try to be a horse trainer. I went to school at the University of Findlay, Ohio. Got a degree in business management, and then they have a equestrian studies degree. Did that. Kind of realized that maybe being a horse trainer wasn't the right fit for me. There's plenty of people that were better at it than I, but knew I wanted to do something with horses. So we have a family business that manufactures nuts and bolts, and we had a family friend or acquaintance contact in Italy, which is the Archesi family, who have been very, very successful in the reining horse world. Spoke with them on what opportunities are out in the industry, and they told me to give Jeff Oswood a call and see if he had room, so that's what I did.
Cool. And when did you, I guess you and Jeff had a relationship and it involved in you now owning it?
Yeah, it's kind of a long story as well, but when I was a senior in high school, I didn't have anywhere. I didn't want to be a horse trainer. I realized that I wanted to do something in the industry, but what that entailed, I didn't quite know. So we spoke with their Archesi family. He told me to give Jeff a call. I think this was like a week before graduation. I called Jeff. He was in the middle of breeding season. I said, "Hey, do you have any room for somebody that's looking to learn and work?" And he said, "When can you be here?" And I said, "Well, I got to graduate, but I can be down the next day." And he said, "All right, sounds good. See you then." That was kind of the end of the conversation. So a week later, I hopped in the truck, started heading south from Ohio to Texas. I called Jeff about halfway just to make sure he was still understanding that I was coming. And he said, "Yeah, here's the gate code." I was like, "Okay." Didn't know if I had a place to live, didn't really know anything. I just was grateful for the opportunity. So I got there, and there was a bunkhouse where a room for me, and just started working. So.
And you grew up in the Ohio area?
I did. I grew up in Northeast Ohio.
That's a lot different setting than Texas.
A little different than Texas, yeah. I mean, still big time horse country. There's a lot of pleasure horses, a lot of halter horses, and quite a few reining horses. You don't have as much as the cow horse or the cutting. Just access to cattle. It's a lot.
What
between.
What kind of involved you in the reining horse side of it? What made you want to do that as younger?
Well, it was more probably appeal than anything else. I didn't want to walk around leading a horse for the halter, and I didn't want to lope really, really slow in a circle doing the pleasure horse stuff. So the reining was appealing to me. You go fast, you go slow, you slide, you stop, you spin, a bunch of different maneuvers. It's very detail oriented, so everything kind of has to be where it needs to be at each given time. So that's kind of what drew me in, was the access to the different events we had in the area. That was kind of the best fit for me, not wanting to lead halter horses or show a pleasure horse.
So I know you're not a professional reiner or
No,
professional by no means.
Not by any means.
I know what you do for a living. Yeah. It ain't that. But if you had to explain, I think a lot of people, when they look at reining, they don't understand really what's going on. And a lot of this podcast is about new people coming in our industry, people that are existing. They may want to change disciplines to a different, so what, if you can do in a short summary, what would be the best way to describe reining?
A lot of people, and I take a little bit of offense to this because it's not like ballet, but a lot of people say it's the ballet or the figure skating of the equine world, and what they mean by that is you have a pattern, and there's multiple patterns depending on which horse show they're set. Everybody knows them, and then you have maneuvers within that pattern. So you have to go, do 2 large fast circles, a small slow. Everything has to be laid out. It's very detail oriented. You have to do the maneuvers based on the pattern, and then there's a scaling or a judging system based off, the degree of difficulty and what that horse is doing. So, in the cutting, they kind of judge style. In the reining, they don't judge style. So it's all based off, they have maneuver scores ranging from -1.5 being extremely poor, -1, minus a half, 0 being normal, average, just an average score for that maneuver, and then going the other way as well, +1/2, +1, +1.5. Just adds physicality and degree of difficulty, speed, all of that. So each maneuver is judged. So when they go in there and do a set of circles on the left lead, that maneuver is judged. The right lead, that maneuver is judged. The run and stop, judged.
Individually, like each stop's judged?
Yeah, each stop is judged. Each turnaround is judged. So all of the maneuvers make up that score. So you have from -1.5 to +1.5, anywhere in between there for that, that maneuver. So average score is 70. You go plus or minus from there. So, these horses that mark a 225, there's 5 judges. They take the average of 3, so they cut out the high and low, and take the middle 3 scores, combine those, 75 scores together to get 225. A fairly good score.
Is it political?
What's not anymore?
Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's,
And when I mean by that, not political, maybe, okay, Casey's going there, and
these horse trainers definitely have their hot streaks and their non-hot streaks. Casey's kind of on fire right now. Andrea, he's always been on fire. These guys. Do I think it's political? To some degree. Do I think politics are deciding who wins the horse show? No. These guys get more horse shows under the belt, more winnings. They start getting better horses. They stay on top. That's their goal, is to get there and stay there. So some people might look at that as being political. For me, it's as success comes, more opportunities present themselves, and they're walking through those doors.
Well, what little amount of TV I watch, I was flicking through, I don't know, Prime or one of those Netflix, I don't know exactly which one it was. But anyway, I flipped through there and it said The Cowboy Way. Well, back in the day, there was a show called Cowboy Way with Woody Harrelson in it and all that stuff. I thought that was what I was clicking on. But it ended up being where, as a reining horse competition, Andre and all them were in it.
Yep.
5 or 6 years. It's been a long time. But I started watching it, and I was thinking current time versus where the industry, or they've grown so much as professionals, it's unreal.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't just, and I got to hear some of their stories because, Andre is a very driven person. I had no idea how in tune he is about being a perfectionist.
Absolutely, and they're athletes, and they're always improving their skills and their trade, and but yeah, the reining horse has come a long way in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Even so, there was a couple horses back in the early mid-2000s that kind of set a new standard for a reining horse. Wimpy's Little Step, Wimpy's Little Chick. These kind of horses kind of took the industry, in my opinion, in a different way, with a new standard of how a reining horse should move, how they should go through a pattern, what a reining horse should look like, and people, especially the breeders, have bred for that, and that's the road we're going down, is to keep trying to improve the reining horse.
Yeah. Well, I had a brief experience in the reining horse side of the world, and it wasn't even out of reining a competition. Buddy of mine, Kurt Crawford, signed me up at a cowboy gathering for a reining class, or for a reining pattern. Never done reining in my life, and I'm dyslexic, so everything to me, I think backwards from it. So I didn't even know, but they had a call out, and they're like, called me out, like, there's no way, I don't do that. I'm do all the mugging and do all the sorting and all that stuff. I don't want to mess with that. Well, it was me. I had to remember this pattern in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I got through it on an old 20-year-old ranch horse. It wasn't pretty, but I did get through it. But I mean, I guess they're used to it because they do the same. The patterns are probably they may be different, but they're all probably
Yeah, it's all the same maneuvers, just arranged differently, or there might be one extra stop, or you know, the lead changes might be judged as an individual maneuver or part of a set of circles. But yeah, those guys know them all. I don't.
yeah. Well, apparently I suck at it. I got very freaking last. And there's the old man out there that I'm embarrassed of myself. But anyways, it all worked out. So what if you were talking to a client about what you would look for in a reining horse, what would that be? Especially with breed, I mean, along the lines of your breeding, we all know we have stud and mare, but and they all need help one way or another. But in a perfect world, what would that look like?
Yeah, I think it's different if you're, first of all, for the reining, the cow horse, the cutting, there's a few different criteria that makes a good horse. Pedigree obviously helps. Conformation is crucial, in my opinion. Form to function, how a horse is made, will really kind of help you determine whether, especially looking for a prospect, a horse that you haven't started, you're buying to start under saddle, to train, etc. Conformation is key for me. Differently, if you already have a mare and you're looking to breed that mare to improve those characteristics, every horse has flaws, every horse has good qualities. If we're going to be breeding them, for me it's a little different. I'm going to look at your mare and say, okay, she has XYZ pedigree. This horse might fit her on paper, but it does not fit your mare conformationally. So I think it's, you have to think about both of those things when making breeding decisions.
So, reining horse not having the dynamics of having to work with cattle is basically a lot on the conformation for how they're built.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you talk to a lot of these horse trainers, and like I said, I'm not a horse trainer, but conformation is form to function. You can look at an animal and go, okay, he has good bone, he has a short back, he has a great shoulder, he has a really good wither, he's got a low hocks, he's a really good mover. These are things that are all going to allow him to be, I'm not going to say a better athlete, because there's some that don't have those qualities that are just as good, but it should, the athleticism and the maneuvers that they're going to have to do with those qualities should be a lot easier for them. They're set up to perform. Gotcha. Instead of having to come over an obstacle, if they're a bad mover, lead changes can be difficult, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And I say that because a lot when you start talking about reining cow horse and cutting, there have to be some little bit cowy in them. They have some cow on to them, different from the reining side of it. What sets you apart from other? I mean, obviously there's a lot of breeders or stallion farms or breeding farms. What do you believe sets you apart from everybody?
It's I think we focus on maybe different parts of the business than others do. We try to focus on three things, which I believe we're extremely good at, which is managing stallions, managing mares in their breeding career, and raising horses. We're a little different than some other facilities, as we have the property and the ability to raise horses a little bit differently. We believe in green grass, big pastures, horses being horses, raised as horses. I think it sets them a little bit of different. Our yearlings are set apart a little bit because they have a better opportunity to grow, right nutrition, big spaces. That's really our focus, are those three things. We, of course, growth is always what everybody wants to do, and we want to grow too. But I think sometimes if you get too spread out, you become a jack of all trades. You become a master of none. Yeah. So for me, it's just focusing on those three parts of the industry that I know and I believe that we are very good at.
So what is? I know you probably don't want to answer this question, but I get not at your farm. But what is your all-time favorite stud?
Man, I get that question a lot. It just depends on for what. I mean, we're very fortunate. We've had a lot of great horses come through Oswood Stallion Station, and you know, we've been able to see a lot of really good horses. It just really depends. You know, that question is such a hard question for me to answer because there's so many great horses that have better qualities, better characteristics for certain.
What about a stallion that feeds the three industries of NCHA, reining cow horse, and reining?
Is there one?
Yeah.
It's tough.
I know that's kind of a lot of people are doing.
The cutting and the cow horse kind of correlate, and there's a lot of studs in those industries that breed in the cutting and the cow horse. Jumping into the reining and reining horses jumping into the cow horse or the cutting, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
You know, a horse that we have that has been able to do it with some success, quite a bit of success, is Gunna Trasher. I believe he's a $15 million sire in the reining, he's the number 2 overall producing reining horse sire. He's produced quite a bit in the cow horse as well, with just breeding a couple mares, and he's also produced in the cutting. You know, I'm thinking maybe 100, 150,000, 200,000 max, but he has been able to do that. You know, a horse that kind of left a lasting impression on all three industries was Shining Spark. Mm-hmm. Shining Spark, you know, had offspring and brood mares now that have produced in all three of those as well.
So what services do you offer if somebody came to you and said, hey, I want to leave my mare here and I want to foal her out, I want you to raise her baby? What are all the options or to some degree?
So there's kind of 2 sides of the business, or 3 sides of the business for us, you know, going back to the 3 things that I believe we're good at, which is, you know, the stallion management, taking a horse from their show career into their stallion career, you know, managing that horse for its breedings. It's getting a little trickier now because you know, working with the horse trainers is extremely important because everyone wants to start breeding their horses at a younger age, especially these stallions. They go out and they win the futurity, they go in the American, they go win the run for $1 million. You know, they still want to keep showing. It's very important for me to start their breeding career, but separate their show career and their breeding career. So we do a lot of frozen semen only studs where, you know, in the off season this time of year, we're freezing semen to use during breeding season while those horses are on the road. So I think that's extremely important. You know, the management of a stallion in general, you know, collecting stallions, managing it, you still got to be a horseman. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is still having that integrity for the animal, for the horse. Horses have good days, they have bad days. You know, they're animals. So being able to maneuver those is important to me. The breeding side of it, you know, we offer kind of a full service breeding operation. Breed your mare on farm. We ship semen all over the country. We freeze semen, ship it all over the world: Australia, Israel, Europe, Australia. I said Australia, Brazil. I mean, it's really not a place that I think we're going to ship to Argentina and Paraguay this year as well. It's really nowhere we can't get semen to. As far as the mare side of things, we offer on-site aspirations. We don't do the actual ICSI procedure on the ranch. We subcontract that out to, you know, the people that are really good at that.
Right.
You know, I don't want to do an average job for my customers. So if I'm going to do an average job, I'm going to find somebody who's going to do a great job for them. So, you know, we have some facilities that come to the house and aspirate those mares, but we'll take those oocytes back and do the actual injection process and the maturation of the oocytes into embryos at their facility, and kind of work well together to do that. But as far as, you know, breeding the mare, whether it's an embryo flush, putting it in a recip mare, letting the mare carry, that foal to term, foaling out, we foal out 150, 160 mares a year. And then what's kind of different for us is a lot of those stay there, and then we raise those foals until they're, you know, October through December of their yearling year, and decide where they're going to go, whether that be the Snaffle Bit Futurity sale or Casey Deary's house or Sean Florida's or wherever that owner's goals and the path they want to take for that animal. So
predominantly you're working for owners, though. You're not necessarily working for trainers, so you have no biased opinion to anybody.
No, absolutely not. We just work for the customer. So we're a 100% service-based company. We don't own any of our own horses. I own a couple of my own brood mares, but you come out and you see all the horses at the facility. It's all owned by, outside customers. So we provide a service, and we get paid to do those services.
How much staff does it take to do that?
I'm a little different there too. So
you're different all the way around.
Yeah,
we know this.
It really depends. I have about 20 employees. That's probably a lot lighter than most people. I look at it a little different than most due to the fact that I look for people that want to work extremely hard and for that get paid a little better than having more people that just look at it as a job rather than a lifestyle. So I kind of look for a different employee than maybe most people do. I take a lot of pride in the horses that we have and the opportunities that our customers have given us. So I think it's very important to have the correct employees for those animals because, they're an extension of myself and the standards that we live by. So we probably have a few less employees than most, but the employees that we do have, I have full faith in. And like I said, they probably work harder than the average human, but they're the kind of people that we look for.
Well, yeah, the same philosophy on that. I feel like and that's the hardest part about growing is when people are not as they're lazier these days. People are not. To me, I beg for a job and I work for free a lot, just to get an opportunity. Now it's like entitlement. It's the day they're hired, so trying to grow with the top team that we both have, it's very difficult to find that person that understands what you're saying instead of thinking you're taking advantage of them. You're not.
No.
You're willing to pay them more money as things come along, but I'd rather have less people, but all the right people.
Absolutely.
And, and I've learned that 23 years in business. I learned a lot of things the hard way. Yeah. Back in the old days, old school, custom, fire them, fight them, didn't matter. And that don't work. No. Not to have a successful business anyway.
No, and I couldn't agree more with that, to be honest. And, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So I'd rather have the right people than more of them.
Yeah. Family?
What about them?
Wife, kids,
yeah.
names.
So my wife works in the business. She takes care of all of the mare side of the business, the breeding. She's the breeding manager. We have a little baby girl named Reva. She's 16 months old.
Reva?
Reva.
I've been calling her Reva.
Reva.
I missed that V.
R-I-V-A. So she's been nothing but a blessing.
She act like you?
Hope not.
Me too. Don't look like you.
No. She's a tad bit feral, but that's okay.
Yeah, takes that. So who is your main, outside of your wife, who is the go-to person when you're at your farm? If there anything that goes
like as a mentor?
No, like if you're out of town or you're gone, who's that person that everybody going after to?
Probably my wife. Yeah, she's like a walking encyclopedia. She's a lot better than I am. She can tell you. She can go out there and point. You can point to a horse in a pasture, and she can tell you which recip it came from, when it was born, who owns it, everything. You ask that question, who do they call? Well, I kind of call her too. So
right. I'm not the guy, by the way.
Yeah. So it's she's definitely a big part of the success of Oswood Stallion Station as well.
So in your breeding programs with your clients and stuff, I have horses in the industry, and I know you could have a $200,000 stud, or you can have a $500,000 stud to whatever, but color does have an effect on that, especially to some degree.
More so lately than not. I do believe a good horse is a good horse no matter what color they are. And Same. If they go out there and they prove themselves, it doesn't matter if they're yellow, roan, have a white face, don't have any white, people are going to want success. But as of lately, color has not hurt any horse.
Yeah, that's what I would say. But is it more of the roan or more of the ball face, or
just depends on which industry you're in. You know, right now in the reining, there's a lot of bald-faced horses. Some good, some not so good. It, you know, really just depends on the animal. That's what it really comes down to. You know, they can be the most beautiful horse in the world, but if they don't outproduce themselves, then, you know, we can make pretty horses, but if they don't make talented horses, then their demand is going to decrease.
Right.
So,
what have you seen on the rope horse side of the world? Because, you know, rope horses to me back in the day were the rejects of a halter horse, Western pleasure, of all the things. They were the rejects is where all the rope horses went.
No, the rope horse deal is it's booming, you know, and you're right. It used to be some of these reject horses got a new opportunity there, and they still do. But the rope horse guys, they're breeding for rope horses now.
Right. That's what I feel like's different is like you're not breeding for a reining cow horse. You're actually breeding for a rope horse.
100%.
Which back, you correct me if I'm wrong, 10, 15 years ago wasn't a thing.
Yeah, not for a lot of people. I mean,
Right.
we have a very good customer that's been a long time customer of ours, Dean Tufton. He has been breeding rope horses for a very long time. You know, he owns Hickory Holly Time, but he's a horseman, and he has a very, very distinct breeding plan when he starts breeding those horses for the rope horse deal. But as a whole, he's kind of I would say maybe one of the first people to just breed rope horses.
Original OG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been surprised to see how much has come along, and we have rope horses too, and it's like, you know, trying to find a cross on a cat is, I mean, you have a lot of conversations about this. Hey, Brock, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think's that? If you had to have a go-to to cross over a cat, what would it be? Man. And I'm talking about metallic cat, highbrow cat.
Yeah, I mean, highbrow cat and his sons and his grandson have made such a lasting impression on the industry that, you know, all of them are a little different though. So it's really an individual basis for me. If you have a, you know, big, strong, thick, super wide through the shoulders mare, we're going to go look at something that has maybe a little bit more wither, a little finer chest, a little better shoulder to try to lighten her up, you know, and vice versa. If you have a super long, you know, long mare that doesn't have enough bone or doesn't have enough strength, we're going to go try to find a stud that improves that while still maintaining the pedigree and the direction that you want to maintain.
You have a mare or stud. I mean, we all have a connection to a horse somewhere in life.
Yeah.
Is there one of those that you just a mare or a stud or a gelding or whatever that just had that, were you and that horse bonded or?
Not. I mean, I love horses. I always tell people if you want to be in the horse industry, you can't like horses because it's too demanding. The job's too much. You got to love horses, and if you just like horses, you're going to be after 2 weeks of what we do. You're going to be. This is not a whole lot of fun. So I do have a little bit of a different understanding for a horse than most, as I make my living with them. But there was a mare named Wimpy's Little Chick that I think I just, not so sure that we bonded, but I have a deep appreciation for what she did. And I mean, she changed the industry in the reining horse world for sure. She's no longer with us, but she was just one of those horses that had that it factor, something you can't explain.
Yeah. Well, I've worked on a breeding farm as a kid, and I know all the things that go behind it. But if you had to describe to people that are maybe new to the industry or been in the industry or deciding they want to get into breeding some of their stuff to get their own product, how does that kind of look? I mean, when does that start as far as breeding season, and how does it look during breeding season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd tell them it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, you have the highest highs and the lowest lows.
Sure.
In a 6-month period, and even after that, once they're pregnant, and so on and so forth. But you know, breeding season for us usually runs from like February 7th through the end of June, so July 1st. We collect studs on an every other day basis from February 7th through the end of June. So we really have a 5-month breeding season. Our foaling season starts a month before that. Horses have an 11-month gestation. So the work we do in February, we'll start seeing the outcome from those crosses following January. So it's a long process from start to finish. I think that's what makes it so rewarding and so non-rewarding when it doesn't work or things go wrong. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but what makes it worth it for me, and I think my wife as well, is we're very fortunate to have the horses that we do at Oswood Stallion Station, which we represent. But what makes it come full circle is when we have the stallion, we have the mare, we get in there, we breed that mare, we get an embryo, we put it in a reset mare, we take care of that reset mare for 11 months. She foals out, we have a healthy baby, we raise that baby for 2 years. Our customers send it whichever trainer they like. It goes on and has a successful career, and then comes back to stand in the barn that it was created, and that's kind of a full circle moment for me. I extremely enjoy creating the horses, watching them through their career, and then coming back to hopefully change the industry a little bit more and put their genetics back into the world.
Do you have quite a few cycle back through like that? Or colts, or mare, fillies, whatever?
Yeah, I'd say so. We have, once again, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of good customers. We have a lot of good mares. So even if they don't cycle through back into our barn, if they go to a different stallion station, or it's a mare and it ends up somewhere else, following their career is kind of cool as well.
Still a win.
Yeah. And we have a lot of them that maybe we don't we don't breed, but we raised. But going to the futurity finals and going, hey, we have, just using numbers, 10 or 15 horses in here that we had some sort of connection to. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Do you have a new up-and-coming stud?
We have a couple. I mean, we have...
I know a lot of this is biased towards clients, and I'm not trying to go down that road, but I talk on a personal level.
No, I mean, to be 100% honest with you, we have some very, very good young stallions right now. We have a horse named America's Next Top Gun in the reining, who's kind of was one of those full circle moments as a horse that we bred and raised at Oswood Stallion Station for their Chasey family. They have since sold him. They sold him as a yearling. He went to Casey Deary's, won $450,000 and change. Came back to stand as a stud horse, and now his first foals are 3-year-olds. First 2 horse shows they produced over 200,000, which is kind of cool. So that's been a fun one. And there's a horse named Downright Amazing that needs no introduction, but we have the opportunity to stand for Miss Debbie Good, another horse that Casey trained. He is by Gunner out of a mare named She's Out of Your League. She's Out of Your League is a mare who's by Walla Walla Whiz that we stand out of a mare named Wimpy's Little Chick. She was born and raised at Oswood Stallion Station. Obviously, he's a big-time producer. Now Downright Amazing is back in the barn. We foaled him out, raised him. So those two are definitely fun. And there's plenty more.
Yeah. Well, what is it when you're looking at, okay, I have this stud that's performing, and you're like, okay, what is a dollar amount, or when do you feel like it's appropriate to put him in a breeding situation, along with the performance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's an exact dollar amount, which I'm like, all right, it's time. It's more of in my opinion, it's more of a momentum kind of deal. It's, a horse has adequately gone out and shown the market, the industry, what they're capable of multiple times. Consistency, just shown the ability that he deserves to breed mares, in my opinion. And then, like I said, this frozen semen only deal, we call it frozen semen only, where we free semen in the off season and breed mares with it during the breeding season, has allowed those stallions to continue their show career while getting the opportunity to breed mares. So I think that's changed a little. That question's kind of a little bit harder for me to answer now than it would have been 5 years ago, because you look at a horse like Gunna Trasha. I think he was shown 4 times. He won the Random Futurity, he won the Derby, won $236,000, and it was time to start breeding mares. if that horse was in today's day and age, he would have started breeding mares with frozen semen only, and continue to show. So that's changed a little bit.
What do you think the average age is when they start breeding?
Breeding, I'd probably say around 5 or 6.
Get them out of their futurity and derby ages.
Yeah, the futurity season is always the most exciting time of year, I think, for everybody, whether it's in the cow horse, the cutting, the reining. They get through there as a 3-year-old. 4-year-olds, I think, always a little tough year on them just because they're still young and trying to figure out the horse show life. Usually these horses kind of, in my opinion, blossom as 5- and 6-year-olds, and that's usually the age that we kind of start thinking about their breeding career.
I got you. And mares don't really matter?
Oh, I don't say, our philosophy is, there's a lot of people that might try to breed a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. I always think it's probably best to wait until they're 4 years old, just they're more physically mature. So the mare side of things is a little bit easier because, they don't have obligations to hundreds of people that book contracts, etc. We can fit in their breeding season, their breeding career around horse shows.
You can get eggs and then put them in a recip.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things.
There's all kinds of do that.
If we just want to flush an embryo and put it in a recip mare, we need, maybe 2 weeks of their time. Whereas, if we book a full book of mares for a stallion, they're making an obligation to breed those mares. So, it's a little different concept.
So, is there a big difference between the frozen semen and the, I guess you would say,
fresh semen?
Fresh semen.
Just depends on the horse. That's a really good question. So we do not have a big difference in conception rates at Oswood Stallion Station between frozen semen and fresh semen. Now, anytime you freeze semen, you're going to harm the sperm cells. It's part of it. So yes, is the frozen semen normally not as good as cooled semen? Probably. Breeding with frozen semen is all about timing and having the right people knowing how to breed a mare with frozen semen. If you're really detail oriented and breed them, within 2-3 hours of ovulation, I think the conception rate is going to be just as good as fresh.
Gotcha.
Fresh is a lot easier to use. There's a lot more. It's not as time sensitive. You can set mares up differently and breed a mare and have her ovulate within 6 or 8 hours, whereas frozen semen, they need to be ovulating within 2 hours.
Really?
Of when you breed them.
When y'all do, so when you say frozen semen, are you putting it in is it a straw?
Yeah, so for us, like a normal breeding dose on frozen semen is 8 straws. So we put up 8 straw doses. So when we breed a mare, we use 8 half ml straws. So it's 4 mLs of total volume.
Gotcha. And then, as I've heard of this before, but how does a stallion farm take a mare in and run out of semen?
And run out of semen? Well, it's very simple. Like I said earlier in this talk here, horses are animals, right? Some horses, on average, will give 7 or 8 billion sperm cells, and you book a set of mares for that stallion based on how many mares you can breed in a day, or what that stallion can handle. What we can't control is if a stallion has a bad day, comes in and stubs her toe and not feeling good that day. I wish there was a tap there that you just open and say, that's how much I need, and close it. There's not. And 2, we can't predict how many mares are going to show up on a given day.
Right.
If you say this horse can breed 100 mares and you have 75 breeding days to do that, that's a mare and a quarter a day, and you have 7 show up on any given day. Well, there's just not enough to go around that day for those 7 mares. It doesn't mean you overbooked your stallion. It just means that, unfortunately, those 7 were ready that day.
Right.
So that gets to be a little tricky. And as a mare owner and a customer, I totally understand. You sign a breeding contract, you need semen when you need semen. You can't really control everybody else's breeding season as well. You can't control the other 99 people that bought a contract. But unfortunately, there's days that we can't make more of it.
Right. And I just hear, I think that's a good thing to put out there in front of people. Some people don't know that, and they think, oh man, why there wasn't enough semen to breed my mare today, and blah blah. And you know how people are.
No, absolutely, and I understand their side of it too. As a customer, you buy a contract, you pay your money, you expect to get the semen on the day you need it. It's just there's more variables that go into it than we have. 5 people that need it today, and not enough. There's other people that may just take that ejaculate and split it 5 ways and make everybody happy. They got semen.
But did it work?
I'm looking at it as I know exactly how many sperm cells for each of these stallions are needed to be successful in a breeding attempt. I would rather, unfortunately, breed my 2 mares and cut 3 mares.
No, you at least covered them.
And I know these 2 are, have a great opportunity of getting pregnant. Those other 3, we usually offer frozen semen to cover their mares for that cycle. But I don't want to not send enough for 5, for 5 customers not to get in foal just to make them happy that day.
Yeah.
It puts a Band-Aid on a problem.
Yeah. It's kind of what I deal with clients as far as, we self-perform a lot of work, but we also have subs. And the best way I describe them when we get behind on schedule or it's been raining, what have you, I don't go changing my contractors. I have a relationship with them. It's what I know they can produce. I'm not going to go find another sub just because you want your stuff done right away. We have a process. But those subs get dragged around by other people they work for too that are not as efficient as we are. So I feel like that's kind of the same scenario as you're plugged into. Like you don't know who's going to come bamboozle you on your system when you don't know what is going on the other side of the fence sometimes.
Ultimately, we want the best for our customers. We want them to have success. We don't want to sell breeding contracts we can't facilitate. That's no fun for anybody. That's not our business model. Our business model is to do the best we can for our stallion owner and their customers, which are our mutual customers. Nobody wants to overbook a stallion. Nobody wants those issues during an already crazy breeding season.
Right. If you had to define your grit in one word only, what would it be?
Grit.
Okay. What makes you be Brock?
I don't know.
I don't even know if I want to hear that.
I don't know if I can put that in one word, but oh man, that's hard to. You should have
I got another one right after it.
Texted me this last night so I could think about it.
No, sir. Nobody else has had that luxury.
No.
But if you watch these podcasts a little more, you know these questions are coming.
I guess I should have.
I know real quick who's been watching them religiously anyway.
Determination.
Determination?
Yeah.
Why is that your word?
I just think, that life's going to throw curveballs at you. There's, hurdles that you're going to have to overcome and just keep going, Just because you failed here doesn't mean you're not going to have the next best idea somewhere else. Or, I always tell everybody wakes up, puts their pants on the same way. Mm-hmm. Just get up and go to work and figure it out. I think if you have the determination to succeed, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do so.
Makes sense. So, last question. We'll wrap this baby up. So, if you had to tell yourself at 18, or you had to talk to an 18-year-old right now, what advice would you give them?
Oof. If I had to talk to an 18-year-old right now, I think what I would tell them is whatever you want to do with your life, whether that is build barn dominiums or own a stallion station, go find whoever's doing it at a high level and immerse yourself in their business. Be a sponge and be willing to learn. I think hard work and determination, open doors and open opportunities. A little bit of the American dream. It's still there and thriving. You just got to go out there and pave your way.
I think the opportunity's out there more than ever because people like us, we need people like that they want more out of life than just a 40-hour-a-week job.
100%.
They want their own legacy, and we all in business know that we spur people off that go into other businesses or make their own businesses. And I used to get mad about it, but now I'm like, hey,
it's the best form of flattery.
Yeah, because obviously, it worked out for them or didn't work out for them, but either way, like they knew what they had and what they came from. And,
we're always looking for people that are just willing to learn. Come on board and learn our way of doing things and just work hard.
Yeah. Brock, I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. All right. Look for our next Grit podcast on our socials.